Well, we know what time it is.
It is time to get back in.
The back corner.
So welcome to the Dozens.
And the Dozens.
We're so glad you've joined us yet again.
43 BC.
Wild, eh?
Yeah, it's...
We're closing in on 50.
I know.
Which is
We're
ridiculous.
going to do something spectacular.
There's got to be a 50th BC special.
What's the anniversary of the 50th?
50th? Is that
diamond?
Golden?
I don't know.
Diamonds?
We'll find out. We'll call it the diamond episode.
We'll have to... Producer Ron, can you do a little research for us? Find out what anniversary we have to celebrate there?
We're just getting our groove. I heard one, I think it's Chris Williamson, listened to his podcast. He's like bro science kind of deal. And he said, you really aren't figuring things out till you get 100 episodes or so.
I'd buy that.
Yeah.
I'd buy that.
We're just starting to figure things out.
Although I feel like because we got 2-hour episodes, we might be getting the hang of it by 50.
I like that. I like that thinking.
Yeah.
Although he does like 3-hour episodes.
Oh,
so
wow.
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
We're doing our best though, people, and we thank you for being along with us for the ride.
We really do. And I just want to give a special shout out to all of those of you in the Dozens who fall outside our stereotypical demographic. People always kind of ask, who's this podcast for? And we're like, I don't know. We feel like it's probably most going to connect with like dudes who are like 20 to 40 something. But I talk to people all the time. I spoke with a lady Saturday night or Sunday night at Sunday night school who she is definitely not like a dude 20 to 40. Yeah. And she was like, oh, I love that shit. Yeah, I listen to it all the time.
We do have a broader audience.
We really do.
Than what we think.
Yeah.
So, and we're glad you're here.
We really are.
Whether you're in that 18 to 50 male demographic, or you are a stay-at-home mom, or you're a grandmother.
Yes, we do. We have like legit.
Definitely do.
Like, I mean, I don't think you're supposed to say elderly anymore.
Yeah.
But very seasoned saints.
Well, my uncle Don's wife, Joy.
Yeah.
She told me she was one of the 12.
There you go.
So,
I know. There's a couple of ladies who I believe are in their 80s from my wife's church who listen regularly.
Let's go.
That's great.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, today's gonna be a good episode. We've got a guest coming up here shortly. We'll introduce him when he jumps on. Having him back actually to continue a conversation we started a handful of episodes ago.
Indeed.
So we'll intro him shortly, but we do want to mention today's sponsor. It is the XY Men's Conference.
You're going to want to be there.
You really are. It's coming up really soon.
It's a good time.
And I just was actually, before we hit record today, was working on some promo stuff for that and saw some clips of last year's, and it just reminded me of like how powerful
really was
those times are. So, and I'm expecting great things this year. We really are. I know, like, people in like Canada might not be familiar with the names of the guys that are coming. These are friends of mine, but these guys are like world class speakers that we've got coming this year, and it's gonna be a powerful time. So,
plus a mechanical bull,
driving range.
We're gonna have the big heavy equipment thing that we.
One can only hope.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's not an excavator, is it a conference?
I don't think so.
Is it a men's conference? No, it's not. So
we want the Lord to excavate our hearts the same way we're gonna.
It's a prophetic sign.
Right. It's really it's an object lesson of sorts.
The men are walking through a prophetic image of the fact they're going under construction.
There we go.
And the Lord is about to tear down and build up.
Sounds
in
beautiful.
real time. Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. All right, let's fire up the teletype machine, Ron.
What do you got for research, Ron?
What are we researching?
Yeah, so what I want to know is if you had to lose one of your 5 senses, so sight, hearing, touch, smell, taste, which one would you get rid of?
Oof, that is a tough one. This is one you definitely need to chime in on in the comments. We appreciate that. We got some loyal commenters, but we'd invite you to let us know. What are the 5 senses if you had to lose one?
Yeah. And
we'll do a bonus after, but okay. What would you do?
I think I'd go with smell.
Really?
Sight and hearing feel like that's how you really navigate the world.
Touch is pretty important.
Touch is important. I could probably live without taste. Like, I'd probably lose a lot of weight if I didn't have the sense of taste. But at the same time, I seem to have a very sensitive nose, and there's a lot of smells in the world that bug me. There are also smells I really like, but I think on the whole, I am more often arrested.
It's more negative than positive.
By smells I don't want to smell than smells I love to smell.
That is true.
And so I think I've actually sometimes wondered if I don't have like some sort of weird like it's either my sense of smell is a lot better than most people's, or my wife's is a lot worse. Because we'll be somewhere and I'll be like, oh, what is that? She's like, I don't notice anything. I'm like, oh, there's something nasty. See, I think.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, even if I didn't have to, even if it was just an option, like if there was like a pill I could take or like some laser thing they could do,
days.
I would. There are days days at the gym that I would definitely do it.
Day. Yeah. It'd be an advantage at least half the time, maybe more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say taste for the like. I'm not a foodie.
Yeah,
I would be in incredible shape if I had no sense of taste. Like I literally, I mean, I try even when I'm just living my life to eat just for fuel, not for enjoyment. Yeah. I find that helps me hold the line a little better. Totally. And if I couldn't enjoy it, I mean, like
I'm not a foodie, but I do like I'm a white trash foodie.
Yeah. I got you.
Like I'm one of those people like, do you want this like triple chocolate cheesecake, blah, blah. I'm like, no.
With those mushrooms?
Yeah, truffles. But I'll destroy a bag of Reese peanut butter cups.
Same, by the handfuls.
Do you want some aged Gruyere? I'm like, no, but you give me just a block of cheddar and I'm...
Same.
Yeah. I very, very base taste, but I do enjoy.
I think I'm going to have to go with you, though. I'm going to vote smell. It's the one I need the least, and like... I appreciate a good smell. Yeah. However, not as much as I appreciate a good taste.
Well, yeah, and I would say at least 50% of the smells I like are things you can eat.
Yeah.
So I can still enjoy it that way.
Yeah.
I'll never smell fresh baked bread again, but now, I can eat it.
This is contingent upon the fact that like I think your taste comes from your ability to smell.
Yeah, we're assuming that you keep one of them fully.
Right. Exactly.
Ron, what about you, man?
I thought about this long, actually, and hard before I asked. I'd probably have to go with smell, too.
Yeah.
Although, taste, I feel like I could get over it. I wouldn't eat... I mean, I love the taste of some things, but it's one of those things where you just... It's just, okay, well, then I can eat healthier.
Yeah,
I don't have to worry about
it. The payoff of no taste would be the highest.
Yeah, it would.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's a great question. Here's a quick follow-up.
All right.
If you had to add a sixth sense...
Ooh.
What would you add? Not superpower.
Yeah.
Like it'd be a little bit of a superpower, but we're not talking flying or like walking through walls. But you had a sense, an awareness.
I don't know if this counts as a sixth sense or if it would just be an heightening of a given sense, but I think it'd be very cool to see outside of what is for typical humans, the visible light spectrum.
I like that.
But you'd have to be able to turn it off and on, because I think if you could just see all the light shades all the time, like you'd never be able to make anything out.
Yeah.
But if you just had a little like dial, you could flip through. Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind having like a spidey sense, like a Peter Tingle, you know, like the ability to just sense. That's from the movie. That's from the movie. Just the ability to sense when like there's an object coming or something's off. But I think actually my pick would be to be able to like see in the spirit, like fully.
Yeah.
Like to see the spirit realm. So a little bit like yours.
Well, see, and that's what this is part of the experiment I'd be wanting to do is, would that mean?
Yeah, right.
Like, can you see angels and demons if they're just on a different, like
dimension,
light frequency or whatever?
You can see in 8 dimensions now.
There you go.
Yeah. I think that might scare us though. There might be a reason why we can't see it.
Could be.
We may just like curl up in a ball.
That might be one of those things that we don't realize is the Lord in his mercy kind of a thing.
Like if you could see all the Nephilim on the way to work, would you
reset the counter?
Yeah, reset the counter. For sure. Ron, you got a take on the sixth sense?
I was originally going to go with the whole spiritual side of things, but then I said, no, I'd be terrified. I'd be in my house, and who knows what could be right outside. But
there's no escaping it.
Yeah, no.
It's everywhere.
No, I would go, I'd probably go with the whole sense of danger or something is off.
The spidey sense.
I like that idea of being aware of what's going on around me.
Yeah. Be able to read thoughts would be pretty sweet.
Yes, if you could turn it off and on.
Yeah.
I think any sense that you can't turn off.
Bit of a curse.
Well, like even
it's like being stuck in a dump with a sense of smell.
Yeah, well, like even hearing, like, I love eyes. You can just close them. But ears are just kind of there, unless you can physically stick your fingers.
I have a condition.
Yeah, no,
called misophonia.
We know you've got a lot of conditions.
Yeah. This one drives me crazy. Like sounds that I don't want to hear.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Oh, dude,
my wife has some of that.
Me and my wife both, and my daughter, all three of us. Like it's 3 out of 5 in the Ingersoll home are pretty sensitive to
afflicted
to
with
off sounds.
this horrible.
We eat with music every night. And that's a true story.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, there's music every night at the dinner table.
That's
we put on
great.
like usually it's like 40s jazz.
Okay.
Just like instrumental jazz.
I was just picturing like thrash metal just to drown out all sound.
Yeah, like
The bodies hit the
yeah, it's like the sound of a CIA torture cell.
There you go.
It's the loud music and bright lights.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a good question. Let us know in the comments what you think. What's your sixth sense, and what's your minus one?
One of the 5 you'd live without.
Get rid of one, add one.
There we go.
Go ahead.
So speaking of things people have seen,
We got some news.
yeah, in the news, we want to talk about Super Bowl halftime shows.
Oh,
There's been a ton of conversation since the Super Bowl back on February 8th about the halftime show, or should I say halftime shows. The official halftime show at the Super Bowl itself featured Puerto Rican artist Bad Bunny. But the late Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA put on an alternate halftime show featuring Detroit's Kid Rock and an assortment of country artists no one had heard of. Complaints against the Bad Bunny performance range from it was not American enough to his songs containing explicit lyrics. Complaints against the Kid Rock show include that the very idea it was necessary is racist against Latinos, and that Kid Rock is nobody to hold up as a model of family values or Christian character. It's been a heated debate. Let's talk about it.
man. I have a lot of thoughts.
Yeah?
And probably going to disappoint and anger some people about it, but that's why we're in the back corner.
I don't have a lot of thoughts, which
flesh
will,
this
in
out.
its own way, probably disappoint and anger
Yeah, well.
some people.
So I didn't watch the Kid Rock one for a couple of reasons. First reason is like, just sounds like it sucks. Like I wouldn't watch Kid Rock anyway. Like that guy's not a good musician. Like let alone not a good human.
I saw just the first part, the Bawa Tabada part.
He
of
did
the
that song?
Yeah,
Of course he did. That's his song.
Yeah, it's his song.
Yeah,
and the reason I watched it is because it was horribly out of sync.
Oh no.
Like people claim he lip synced it and was way out of sync. He claims that it was live, but the audio and the video, because it was pre-recorded, the
Either
audio
way,
and the
it
video
sucked.
weren't. Yeah, but it was kind of a mess what they broadcast in terms of that song.
Yeah, I didn't watch the TBN or the Turning Point one.
Yeah.
For reason number two, definitely is it's just not my jam. Like any of those acts, I could care less.
Yeah.
Now I'm not a Bad Bunny guy. I didn't understand a word he said. Something about in the VIP. That's all I could understand.
I just heard him go, hey, hey. I saw a video, someone just edited it, so it was just the times he went, hey.
Oh,
it was
really?
still like 3 minutes long. Just, hey.
I saw there's a video of this white guy. He's got like this Latino hat on and sunglasses, and he took the track and he translated it in real time and he sung it. It was actually pretty impressive. But okay, so the Bad Bunny performance.
Yeah.
There was some of it I actually really liked and appreciated. A couple things.
Yeah.
And this is on the heels of having been with my wife at the Backstreet Boys and seen.
So almost anything is going to be an improvement after that.
Well, musically, yes. But from a production standpoint, the Sphere, where we saw the show, it's insane. Like you're in a speaker and you're in the sound and your seat is all motorized and like, so it's automated with the visuals and like, it's the most, talk about senses. Like it's the most sensory experience I've ever had from a production standpoint. So that was unbelievable. Like that's how you use it right. But I actually loved about the Super Bowl performance, there was like no lights. There was no smoke. There was like, it was just people, culture, fun, dancing. Like I actually, like that says something about like a person's ability to perform. Like he really, whatever they did, they didn't need the help of the spectacle to make it entertaining. So I was like, that's
sort of like the different, like with movies these days where there's no real plot, there's just special effects.
Yeah.
Like, and you appreciate a movie that's actually just got a story that's compelling.
So I liked that. I didn't understand a word he said, but I liked that. Okay, this is our culture. We're celebrating it. Like it seemed like they were having fun, like the people that were in it.
Yeah.
I do think it was probably a miss for the target audience of like your average American football fans, probably as interested in that as I am a Kid Rock.
Yeah.
But I like that. And once I started hearing about like little Easter eggs in it, like that wedding, there was a wedding. It was a real wedding.
Yeah, an actual wedding.
Like apparently that couple reached out to him and asked if he could come to their wedding, and he said, "Oh, sorry, I can't. But how about I'll do you one better?
Yeah.
Do you want to get married at the Super
married at
Bowl?"
the Super Bowl.
So I thought that was cool. All of like the businesses that he like went to, like they were all real like businesses that are like meaningful in their culture.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So like I don't know. I try to think about it like if I was to do a Canadian one or something that meant something to me. I appreciated that about it. And then overall, I loved to at the end, like I'm a little salty right now about Trump and about America and their whole like make America great again at the expense of everybody else. And one thing I didn't understand was at the end when they brought out all the flags of the Americas.
Yeah. And he
rifled off all of them, including the United States of America. But he called out Canada, which, I mean, come on. I'm just like, oh, we are America.
There we go.
We are. You know, I loved that. I felt seen, you know. And then, but after that, I was like, if I felt seen by a little shout out about my country,
yes,
which is getting bullied by America, by the U.S.,
yeah,
how much more seen do a lot of those people?
What if America had overthrown your government 7 times?
Yeah, or you are an American that feels underrepresented. Like I loved that. I don't, you know, you call me what you want. Like I appreciated that for what it is. And I have since seen a lot of the back and forth going on online between like the Christian right and conservative right and the left, you know, batting this back and forth, almost pitting, you know, the conservatives and TPUSA against the liberal, you know, NFL, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And just like, you know, a buddy of mine, he's a pastor, he's a black pastor in Colorado. And he's posted a lot about it and just saying like some of those things I said, but with a little more feeling, right? Like just minorities being represented. And
I do think it's really hard for those of us who are white to understand that experience.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times a mistake we make is to think if I can't understand it, it's not valid.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just have to take people's word for it,
right?
And go like, if they find that really meaningful, the fact that I don't understand or that I wouldn't feel it at like, you know, someone shouts out my country. I thought it was cool that he threw in Canada, but I didn't have any big like, oh, but I was just like, whatever, man, that's really meaningful for some people. That's cool.
Like, and a lot of it again is like, it comes down to relationship. Like this pastor, he's a friend of mine. Yeah. Like I know this man, you know, and like, if that means something to him, it means something.
Yep.
And, you know, he posted something about like this, there's shades of Jim Crow in like, you know, the conservative right, predominantly white group in America, segregating themselves from the rest and just saying, we want our own show and we want our own thing. And like, you know, I know a lot of Christians got pulled in on like that. This is the Christian show. Come on.
Yeah.
Kid Rock.
Yeah.
I saw another clip of one of the country guys just saying, all I want is a beer. And like how this is not gospel. And if you put a little cherry of like, oh yeah, and Jesus on top, like that does not make it Christian. Totally. So I call that for what it is. You know, I don't think either the NFL nor TPUSA are the hope of the world. And I don't think either one of them do a great job of representing Jesus.
Yep.
But I have been a little disappointed in evangelicalism's yet again propensity to get sucked into conservative right politics.
Absolutely.
And it's funny. I texted my buddy there in Colorado and just said, man, I feel you. I said, I've been saying for a few years, you know, as a preacher, especially like coming through the last decade when in Canada and the US in some ways, but in Canada, especially like the left agenda was very strong. And if you spoke against it, it's dangerous. Yeah. And I got criticized for being alt-right and criticized for, you know, like being ultra-conservative. And I've said from the pulpit, give it a few years. If we stay centered, we're going to feel like we're lefties. Yep. Here we are. Yep. Like I already feel it. I already feel the things swinging too far right now. So, and I just watched it happen. You know, especially, and a lot of Christians just go with it.
Most of my ministry, I've been pretty firmly disliked by both sides.
Yeah. I think you're doing something right.
Well, yeah. Right? I often say, exactly. I say like, if anything I think or say, I mean, I'm trying to be kingdom, right? And if something I say or think lines up with the left or the right, I don't care. It's a coincidence, right? Like the problem is not if there's overlap.
Yes.
The problem is if the reason there's overlap is because left or right is what defines what you believe, as opposed to kingdom.
Correct.
I in terms of the Bad Bunny thing, like it does seem weirdly overblown to me. I can't imagine a world where I would choose to listen.
Yeah.
Like to download his album or whatever. Just not my thing. But I also couldn't tell you the last time a band played at the Super Bowl that would fit that category.
Yeah.
I certainly, on the one hand, I understand some of the objections people had to apparently some of the lyrics, if you understand them, are pretty racy or whatever.
They were.
But again, that's one of those, you just go like, who's the Super Bowl act?
Right.
That had great wholesome, like that's the nature of that music, right?
Well,
like
I actually said to Melanie when we were watching it, it's like, I don't know what he's saying, and I'm sure it's super sexual and inappropriate. And if it was in English, I probably wouldn't want my kids hearing it.
Yeah.
However, from what I'm seeing right now, there's the least amount of like bums and boobs and like twerking and gratuitous sexual movements. There's a heterosexual marriage happening.
Yeah.
Like I'm seeing a lot of stuff I like to see actually with this. So, to me, having Kid Rock as the clean alternative, or what are we talking about?
Yeah. Singing about his heroes in the methadone clinics and the topless dancers and I think
one of the songs he sang was like actually about pedophilia. I read.
Well, I don't know. I don't think he sang that one on the actual halftime show thing, but that is one of his songs. Right. And I think it's still in his current like concert lineup. Yeah. There's a line about whatever, some people call it statutory, I call it mandatory, I think is the line in the so it's not even like an innocent allusion to. It's like he's clearly I think I appreciate the production value. I have no interest in the music. I'm sure the lyrics were terrible. That all seems par for the course for me for a Super Bowl halftime show. I think the idea that the reason TP USA put on an alternative halftime show was about family values is all smoke and mirrors. I really do think it was about they don't like the idea of whether they would think of it as non-American culture, which is ridiculous because the guy's an American from America. Like Puerto Rico is America. That'd be like saying, if a group from Nunavut was going to play at the Grey Cup, going, that's not very Canadian.
Yeah.
It's like, well, it's not a province. It's just a territory. So it's not like, no, that's bull. I do think it was, a little bit racially motivated.
And a lot politically.
Just knowing that would energize their base.
Totally. They saw an opportunity.
Totally. Yeah. And we're trying to draw attention. The notion that, it is very much smacks of the Americana and Christianity are the same thing. Yeah. Which is...
it's a huge problem.
It's ugly and disgraceful and borderline blasphemous. And I think, again, people who go, oh no, like Kid Rock has given his life to Jesus and all that. Maybe he has. It doesn't make him a model or like... you don't hold people up because of the decision they claim to make. You would, as an example, you hold them up because of the fruit you see in their life. And, I've seen, lots of examples, not from the distant past, recent. There's just not a whole lot of fruit there to hold that guy up as an example. And, and again, if you were to, rewind 5 or 10 years and ask TBN, which is a whole other, they're a train wreck of a different sort, but
we'll go back to last episode with the Mike Winger stuff. TBN's all in on all that stuff,
and they're all prosperity gospel foolishness. But if you said to them, "Hey, do you want to have a guy on Kid Rock to sing his big song?" Like they would say, "Absolutely not." Not because I think they're highly moral, because they know it would tick off their base. But now it energizes their base. So I wish that. I hope that people who have an issue with the Bad Bunny performance also have had an issue with most of the performances on the Super Bowl halftime show ever.
Yeah, exactly.
And I hope that Christians aren't naive enough to buy into the notion that because it has a white guy and he adds a verse that implies something about Jesus, and otherwise it's just a bunch of country pandery, drink beer and wave flags and drive trucks tomfoolery, that somehow that's Christian. If you want to just be honest and go, that's more my style of music, cool. Fine. if you want to be honest enough to say that my politics are just that important to me and I don't really care about the religious aspect of it, whatever, if that's your thing. But man, don't drag Jesus into your stupid partisan politics, and don't paint him with a brush that makes it seem like he's anti people of Latin culture.
Well, that's that one of, I have like 3 more quick thoughts on this. On that anti-Latin culture thing. Like, one of the things I was thinking here was, you know, for Christians, if some other culture, like nationality culture, not the culture of, like, you know, the left or the right or whatever, but like if somebody, if some ethnic culture repels you, that's not kingdom.
No.
Like, there's something, like the scripture shows over and over from like front to back, especially you look at Revelation, like that, you know, I saw every tribe, tongue, people, and nation. Like there's this implication of the manifold glory of God being expressed through the diversity of humanity.
Absolutely.
And like, it's like then the kings came in with their crowns. Well, what's that mean? It means like God puts distinction on the differing people groups, and like there's some beauty in that. And so if you get repelled by Latin culture or African culture or Canadian culture, whatever it is, like I just think it's not kingdom at all. You know?
I mean, the fact that it's described as every tongue, tribe, and nation implies that diversity persists into eternity.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
It implies, you know, that it's not one of those things like heaven is homogenous.
Right.
Which then makes you wonder too, like, if people are going to be identifiable as from different tribes and identifiable as from different nations, that would imply they're also going to be identifiable as being from different tongues.
Totally.
Which would imply maybe in heaven it's a pretty multilingual experience.
Yeah.
Now, hopefully
we'll get it.
We get zapped and we'll understand it or whatever, but
we can get some of it. Like I would have no problem right now if you told me, like, in heaven that like African Americans are going to lead worship from here on out. I'm like,
it's only
done.
It's only appropriate.
Good. But like if it was like, you know, if someone told me that, you know, from here on out it's going to be, we're going to do 15th century Baroque worship, you know, I'd be like,
But I think it's more likely that in heaven I'll be able to understand Spanish than that there won't be Spanish.
Right. Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's like, get used to the sound of it.
And I'll appreciate the beauty of it.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah.
And between like all those Spanish Catholics for a bajillion years and then all Central and South America, it's going to be a lot of Spanish.
My other 2 thoughts, want to pour one out for all the Pats fans out there. So that was a tough one.
I am officially a Pats fan.
Yeah, same. So Seth Fancy. Yeah, we got a lot of Dan Lamus.
Not enough that I watched the Super Bowl.
Oh, you're not a Pats fan.
No, but you know.
You're going to pull for someone. You're New England.
They were, exactly. I was born in New England. I was living in Bangor when they won their first Super Bowl a bajillion years ago.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Last thought was the national anthem was the best performance of the night. Charlie Puth.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they had to fly over right on time, and like it was this awesome arrangement, and the Jets went over. I was like, I want to enlist.
Help yourself.
Sign me up. Can I fly one of those?
I'll still be here in the back corner, folks.
We got like 5 minutes before we jump on with our guest today. Let's pump out a quick behoove you. You got any advice for the dozens?
Yeah,
today?
I got beneficial? I got 3 recommendations. One is a book called Getting to Know the Early Church Fathers, an Evangelical Introduction by a guy named Brian Litfin. He just walks through some of the key like thinkers, theologians, leaders from the first 500 years or so of the church. Great way to dive in. And for those who love the idea of learning about some of that early church theological development and stuff, but are a little bit nervous about, you know, Catholic propaganda that gets thrown in with it or whatever, because Catholics write about that stuff way more than evangelicals do. This guy is an evangelical, and it's specifically an evangelical introduction. Great book, Getting to Know the Early Church Fathers, an Evangelical Introduction. There's a YouTube channel I'd love to recommend. I want to be clear, it is kind of dry, the delivery, but the content is fascinating. The channel is called Ready to Harvest, and this guy does these breakdowns on all different kinds of denominations, histories of denomination. I just watched him do one of like the whole history of Methodism, and it's like 178 different Methodist denominations in the United States, predominantly. But he does comparisons between like what's the difference between Mennonites and Amish, or Anabaptists and Baptists, and all that kind of stuff. Very neutral. He is a believer, the guy, but very neutral. Very, like, he's not passing judgment. It's just clear information. If you ever hear about some denomination or movement or whatever, and you're wondering, okay, what's their deal? Great place to go, ready to harvest. And then the other thing is more of a piece of advice, but just something I've actually been playing with since we finished our kind of corporate fast here at King's a little while back, is actually using the time limitations on your phone for the kind of
on yourself.
Yeah,
not just on your kids
that suck up your time. So I've started setting just daily time limits for some of my social media stuff, and that just as a way to still be able to connect with some of the friends that's the main way I connect with, but also it can't become a giant time suck because my phone just shuts it down when I get to a certain point.
Smart.
So yeah, very, very helpful. If you really struggle with that, don't be an idiot and have your own passcode. Give it to someone.
Yes,
give it to your wife or someone else.
I have some friends that have their wives have the passcode.
That's how my wife and I both use it that way. So I know her passcode and she knows mine, and that way, I can't be like, well, I'll just another 5 minutes.
It's not really a limit if you can unlock it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love it. I got two. First thing, just if you've never had a session of guided prayer with somebody, like Pastor Dan Lamus here at King's, he does something called Freedom Prayer. We got a whole team now that are trained up to do that. I had a session yesterday with my spiritual director, and what guided prayer is not like to have somebody pray for you. It's somebody that's trained to help you engage with the Lord in prayer, and it is a beautiful thing. Sometimes we need someone else to kind of help triangulate and ask the right questions, or help you ask the right questions to Jesus. Yeah. And those have been some of the most powerful, deep moments of clarity I've gotten and words I've gotten from God. And so if you've never done that, never freedom prayer, like if you go to King's, like talk to one of your pastors about doing freedom prayer, we'll line that up for you. But if you've never had somebody help you on that prayer journey in real time, like sit down for an hour and go to Jesus together. And that person's just there as a Sherpa almost. Like they're just there to kind of to help you go. They don't pray for you. They don't dictate where it goes. They're helping facilitate. So it's a beautiful thing. So guided prayer,
love it.
I would highly recommend to sit down with somebody that can help you pray. The other thing too, I just saw this last night, Wesley Huff, friend of our friend Ben McDonald, who's going to be back on the pod here soon. Yeah. Works for Apologetics Canada. He's pretty famous now, apologist. Anyway, he posted on his website a graph of all the Bible translations and where they sit in the spectrum. Nice. And their purpose. Like you have your ones that are like highly literal, you have your ones that are highly interpretive, and everything in between. And it shows what translation is written for what purpose. And his whole take is like, there's utility and gold in all of them. You just got to know like why this was translated this way. And then he does have like out of the extreme end on the, I forget the language, but on the ones that are like paraphrase.
Paraphrase, yeah. That's the term.
No, but there's a term beneath it that, that whole section of biblical interpretation, I forget what it's called, but it's not word for word, it's thought for thought. Yeah. And then it turns into paraphrase. But he, on the extreme end of that, he puts a few translations like the Jehovah's Witness, obviously. But then there's a couple that evangelicals have embraced that he puts even further problematic. Oh, wow. Like the Passion Translation and the Mirror Bible is. I haven't heard of that one. Oh, dude, it's not good. Yeah. But anyway, I thought it was helpful, especially for disciples that, you always read the KJV because that's what you always read, but you don't really realize where that sits in the overall, collection of English interpretations of Hebrew and Greek. Yeah. And so super helpful. You can get that on, I think, wesleyhuff.com.
Understanding translation theory in general is such, like, people always want to know, like, what is the best translation? And it's like, it depends on what you're trying to do.
There isn't a best one.
I sat in a class once with John Oswalt, who's a great Old Testament scholar, worked on the NIV, worked on the NLT. Like,
he's passed away, hasn't he?
No, he's still kicking.
No, I'm thinking of Orville Butcher.
Yeah, you are thinking of Orville Butcher. Yeah, no, John Oswalt, like Isaiah is his specialty, we were in this class and he was talking about translation theory and what translations he uses, and he uses the NLT in his devotions, uses a more, I think it's the RSV maybe in his preaching, just because most of the congregations he preached to, that's what they're used to. So he's talking about, some of them are very literal, but they're very stunted and they don't always capture the full meaning because there's not a word for word actual equivalent. And then there's, the dynamic equivalent, sometimes it's called, or the thought for thought, that's plays a little, adjusts the grammar to reflect English more and all that kind of stuff. But it's not always as helpful if you're doing a deep dive where word order matters. Anyways, finally, this poor younger guy in the class puts his hand up and he goes, well, if I just want to know exactly what it said, what should I read? And he just leans forward and goes, Greek and Hebrew. Poor kid just hung his head, right? But it's
slam dunk.
Yeah, there isn't the right translation theory. It's what are you trying to do with it?
Yeah, and once you figure that out, then you'll land on I have one kind of in each section.
Totally.
I default to NIV because NIV, well, one, I grew up with it, but two, it's dead center. Like it's kind of in between.
John Oswalt disagrees.
Well, no, it's dead center between word for word and thought for thought. Like
he worked on that one, and he said that there was actually a lot of politicking in the translation. Okay. And he said some books and sections were a little more word for word, and some of them were a little more thought for thought. And there was lots of, not that he said it was a bad translation, but he worked on both, and he prefers the NLT.
Well, I use the NLT. I was going to say, my kind of center point is the NIV, but I use the NLT a lot, which is kind of just to the right of it, towards thought for thought. Yep. And then I use ESV a lot, which goes harder on the word for word.
Yep.
But kind of triangulating, it's actually beneficial to read all of them and get a real 3D kind of idea of what the text is trying to say.
And typically, if you're doing, if you want to sit down and read a book of the Bible, something that's more thought for thought is going to flow a lot easier, and it'll be easier to catch the big picture. And if you're going to pick apart a verse, you want to go into something that's more word for me. It's the NLT and usually the NASB. Although sometimes I'm using the ESV right now in my devotions. I'm not in love with it, but it's a good stretch for my brain.
I like the ESV, but NLT is if I just want to read it and get it, I usually go NLT. Sometimes I'll go Message if I want to paraphrase, it's a true paraphrase. The Message, it's just him taking a stab at this is what it's saying in modern English kind of thing. So, but beyond the Message, I really don't look at a lot of the other paraphrases. To me are garbage. Yeah. So anyway, on that note, that would behoove you. Go check out his Bible graph at wesleyhuff.com. I think it is. Can you fact check that, Ron? wesleyhuff.com. We put it in the show notes.
Whatever it's supposed to be, it'll be down in the doobly-doo.
Well, with us, actually back with us today, we have Jon Thompson. For those who didn't catch Jon a handful of episodes ago, let me give a little rundown as to who Jon is and then why he's back specifically. So today, Pastor Jon Thompson is with us. He serves as senior pastor at Sanctus Church. It's a multi-site congregation in Toronto. He served there for over 25 years. He spent his early childhood in Ecuador. Is that Ecuador?
I don't think it's that close,
no?
But
okay. As the son of missionaries. And today is a leading voice in the church in Canada. He's a sought-after speaker internationally, author of multiple books. You can get them where books are sold. He's got academic credentials, including Master of Theological Studies from Tyndale and a doctorate of missiology from Fuller. He's married to Joanna, the father of Hannah, Emma, and recently baptized Noah. Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, members of the Dozens, please welcome back for the second time this season. This is only one other guest to have the welcome back in the same season.
True enough.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jon Thompson. Woo! Give it up.
Great to be back with all of you.
Great to have you back.
We wanted to get you back because last time we started into a conversation and we thought that we were going to be able to talk about spiritual warfare, deliverance, and revival. And we did not get to talking about revival. So we want to have a full discussion on revival, what it is, what it isn't, all that stuff. But before, because you're a buddy and you're a good sport and you're smart, I wanted to warm things up with a little conspiracy corner. So we got a couple questions for you, and you cue us up with the first one, AJ.
Yeah. Welcome to Conspiracy Corner. From haunted houses to theaters to forests, humans seem to be compelled almost universally across time and cultures to believe that in some way the spirits of the deceased can continue to inhabit and interact with the realm of the living. Is this possible? Can disembodied souls still inhabit the material world? Is there some other explanation for the phenomenon often attributed to hauntings? Do you believe in ghosts?
Well delivered.
Thank you. Thank you. I did my best.
This is a big topic. What's your take, John?
Yeah, it's a big topic, and it's not actually. So Hebrews, I think it's chapter 4, very clearly states that when you die, you go to judgment. And so the Christian worldview is that when human beings die, there is this, if you want to use the phraseology of a waiting room, doctor's waiting room, the scriptures talk about this place called Abraham's bosom and Hades. And you can see this in the parables of, for example, the poor man Lazarus. You also see this in the book of Revelation, where it says that Hades and death is thrown into the lake of fire. And so human beings, depending on who owns them in this lifetime, have basically two waiting rooms. Abraham's bosom is an old Jewish way of saying paradise, which is not the new heavens and new earth. And then Hades is an old phrase from the Old Testament, also in Greek thinking, which means place of waiting in death, but actually not ultimate judgment. So every human being that has died is in one of two waiting rooms. Some think they're asleep, some think they're awake, not for this conversation, not for this podcast. But they cannot, and they have no access back into this realm. And so do I think a lot of the ghost sightings and the haunted houses and forests are too much Netflix and a little bit, maybe too many shrooms in the forest? Yes. But do I also believe there are multiple moments where there is an inhabitation of a disembodied thing? Yes, but they are not human. They are demonic.
Do you think they'll?
And so one of the big
will they pretend to be?
Oh yes, I was just about to say.
Sorry.
So one of the greatest plays that the Kingdom of Darkness does is they imitate the dead. They appear like the dead. They give information like the dead, thus allowing the long con to take place, to give false comfort. You know, it's interesting, you know, people say, oh, RIP, rest in peace, which is a great truth if you're in Christ, but is not true if you're not in Christ. And so one of the great deceptions of the evil one is to promise rest and peace when there is no rest and peace, to continue the con long term. So have I been in haunted houses? Yes, many of them. And they don't look like an 1865 mansard roof thing you'd see in downtown St. John, you know, or where I live. They tend to be nice houses or normal houses or not so nice houses where stuff has been done, that things have been invoked. And so do I believe in the living dead? Not the way you just described, but do I believe in unholy assault? Oh, yes, I do.
So go back, John, to the waiting rooms. That you're saying that's different than like the Catholic doctrine of purgatory. That is like it's the pre-place.
Catholics would argue purgatory out of that biblical idea. But we just got to be really careful theologically, and let's not go down this too much or we'll never get to revival. So that will be season 14 or whatever I come back later. But at its heart, basically, what's really, I think it's in Revelation 20, where after the great judgment takes place in the reading of the books, it says that Hades and death are thrown into the lake of fire. And if you listen to Jesus's language, he talks about people who die being in Hades, but that's different than the lake of fire. When he says to the thief on the cross, today you'll be with me in paradise, it's an interesting phrase because that's not the new heavens and the new earth, because the new heavens and the new earth are not here yet, nor is that man in a resurrected body yet. And so there is a disembodied moment that happens for unbelievers and believers in the middle, because the scriptures are clear. Jewish theology taught this, at least Pharisaical Judaism. And of course, all Christianity believes that when the judgment takes place in Revelation 20 with all human beings, we will all be in resurrected bodies. But the resurrection has not yet happened. So the interim state where there seems to be conscious awareness, I would say, and interaction, but not judgment yet, ultimate judgment, is where we start seeing this really worked out well.
Okay. I like it.
Yeah, no, that's how would you take that concept and overlay it with the idea from, say, the Apostles' Creed, where it talks about Jesus descended into hell?
Yeah, so that actually is why that phrase is used. Now, that phrase started being introduced more formally in the 4th century, was solidified by the 5th century. And there are references to that conversation, of course, out of Jesus's references in Luke. You know, again, there's this famous parable between Lazarus the beggar and a very wealthy gentleman. There's also language, I think, in 1st and 2nd Peter around this. And so, again, much larger conversation, because Catholics, of course, then take the idea that you are in that. Everyone goes to Hades. Even if you're saved, you work out your stuff, then you enter into paradise. And I would say that is absolutely not spoken of at all. But I think we have to be careful when we talk about heaven and hell, because those are ultimate statements of reality post-resurrection. There's an interim thing that evangelicals are uncomfortable with because they feel it's Orthodox or Catholic, but it's just Christian, and we're not comfortable with it.
So when you take the story of Saul and the Witch of Endor, and she calls up the spirit of Samuel. So
yeah, I don't think it was Samuel.
You think it was a demon?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I can.
But hey, let's even say this though. Let's say I'm wrong, and let's say it's Samuel, who God for some reason allows to come from paradise for the conversation.
Yeah.
What is the very first thing that Samuel says? Stop doing this.
Right. Yeah. And,
this idea of calling upon the dead is forbidden through the whole Old Testament.
Right.
And in the New, because here's the critical thing. I don't doubt most of the experiences. Most people start by doubting them. My starting point is they're probably true. My starting point is I'm not arguing it didn't happen. I'm not arguing it wasn't impactful. I'm actually saying to you that when you access spiritual power or information outside of a godly channel, it's already compromised. Even if it helps you.
Yeah. Right.
And that's the thing that maybe we'll end with this. Many people believe, I think we said this the last time we were together, many people believe the demonic only do overtly wicked things. The reason why the Spirit of Christ and Antichrist is so not contrasted, they are very contrasted, but in experience is because the spirit of Antichrist regularly does good things like healing people, giving people spiritual gifts, giving people comfort, because they want your eternity.
Right. Right. It's all a trick. Yeah.
Beauty.
Quick follow-up question on conspiracy, and this more gets into current events within the, I guess, evangelical church on cover-up culture. There's a lot going on right now online. You've probably seen some of the Mike Winger stuff and kind of going after Bethel and IHOP and mainly the charismatic church is getting hit pretty hard with this. Do you got any thoughts on like that whole thing with, both a guy using his platform to call that out, accountability? Are you seeing any of that?
Yeah, I'm incredibly thankful for transparency. I'm incredibly cautious. And all I'll say is, again, I haven't done a deep dive on all of that. And I was even on a podcast last week where some stuff was brought up about Bethel in a positive way. And I was a little nervous because of what's happened regularly. Here's what I'll say. 3 things. Number 1, God will not be mocked.
Mm-hmm.
Pure and simple, God will not be mocked. And so whether on this side of judgment or on that side of judgment, all things that have been done in secret, private and public, will be exposed.
Yeah.
And so that is why I have hope in justice, because ultimate justice will happen. That's 1. Number 2, again, I haven't done a deep dive on this actual thing about the charismatic church. In real time, just a remembrance before everyone throws stones, Philip Yancey just has admitted a 10-year affair, and he is probably not in the charismatic community.
Right.
So just, again, everyone, like, back in your own corners, in the sense of don't quickly say, well, see, of course, over there, of course, over there. And I'm like, 30% of Christian, we've talked about this, I think, personally before, the famed study that was done by Bobby Clinton from Fuller where, if you read the Bible, there's 1,000 leaders in the Bible. If you do all the research, amount of information, only 30% of Christian leaders or God leaders in the Bible ended well. So the mortality rate in Scripture is 70%. So I'm sitting back and I'm like, I'm not shocked. If a guy was literally data mining, from what I've heard, to do prophecies, I'm like, well, of course he should be exposed, and that's wicked. Now, his oversight, I have no clue about that. I know it's complicated. I don't think it's easy. And a reminder before someone writes off everything as demonic, evil, or invented, just a key reminder, because we're about to talk about this. Aaron and Miriam helped build the golden calf while they were looking at the Shekinah glory of God.
Wow.
And so the idea that all things must be false because something false happened in it is not how you diagnose a movement or a move of God. Because when a move of God happens, the move of God happens with human conditions and sin and the demonic. So the conservative history of me says, see, it's all crap. It's all false because, and I'm like, I've now read the scriptures carefully enough to know that when God moves, so does the demonic and so does the human. And many leaders that God used didn't have character. And we don't like that, but it's biblically true.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's biblically justified. So I'm hesitant to say, see, all of Bethel, all of it's demonic.
Right.
I'm like, well, I have questions. I've always had theological disagreements, but I have questions. But for me to make a blanket statement, and again, I didn't watch the 6 or 9 hours, so please don't go online and quote me because I didn't watch it all.
Yeah, sure. No, this is very helpful.
I'm curious how many people did.
Yeah.
That's a serious investment of time.
Commitment. Yeah, for sure. Probably a lot, actually. Yeah. But, well, that's that. I mean, we started to sort of tease it out anyway as the reason we really wanted to get you back here, Jon, is to talk about revival. And I'm coming at this from a couple different angles. One, just out of personal interest. And you and I have had some offline conversations about this. And you've been really helpful to me on my journey. But secondarily, I'm aware that we're in a time right now where the R word is getting thrown around quite generously over every maybe cool thing or novel move of God that's happening, particularly in the global West. Even as early as last night, as the time of this recording, I was seeing stuff on social media about a worship service that went 12 hours at SEU, and they're calling it, it's revival.
Still going.
Is it still going?
Still going.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So awesome. But are we, anyway, I just want to get into the weeds a little bit on this topic of revival. How's that different from renewal? Like all the stuff that I think is worth parsing out for the average disciple to have a bit of a better working model of what it is we're looking at when we see it and what to do if we do encounter the genuine article.
Great. Thanks for having me. And do you want me to go?
Go. I didn't even answer. I didn't even ask a question because I know you've got. I was I know you came loaded. So.
Yeah. So I mean, this is what a joy to have this conversation. What a wonderful conversation that we even get to have this conversation. So I'll start like this. Are we living in a particular time that's unique? Yes. Are we seeing a lot of things that maybe we haven't seen in probably about 50 years? Yes. Are those locations from in the Western sort of sense, Australia, England, some stuff in the continental United States, some stuff in continental Europe? Yes. And so I think a lot of people, as we've lived through the pluralistic, multicultural, highly sexualized, nominal Christian, post-Christian, de-Christian, repaganizing, loss of Christian majority to minority, everyone's like, oh man, like this is the silver bullet. Mm. And I get it. Like, who wouldn't want this? So here's where we'll begin. Number one, I'll give some definitions and I'll give some caveats, and then we'll get into the scriptures. Number one, revival is not guaranteed. So I'll break it down like this, because we're talking about experience, power dynamics, and God working in usual, unusual ways. So spiritual gifts are ongoing, are guaranteed, are sovereignly assigned to every believer. Great. That's just great. Spiritual disciplines are ongoing. Any believer can choose from the buffet, and those become guaranteed places of transformation and hearing. So spiritual gifts are sovereignly assigned. You get what you get. You function in the body, and those are empowering. And the Spirit is uniquely there because it's not acquired gifts or natural gifts. It's you and the Spirit co-working together to do that thing. Spiritual disciplines, once you're saved through Christ, become a place of transformation, encounter, of hearing. And so those things are normative. So when we as pastors and leaders are trying to set out what I would call biblical expectations for experience, that stuff all day long, great. And I would say in the vast majority of churches, even those two things are not affirmed, aren't worked out, aren't experienced, aren't expected.
Agreed.
And most people I find that are actually praying for revival aren't praying for revival. They're praying for that.
Yeah.
So most people praying for revival are praying for what church should just normally be on Monday.
Right.
Which is also a bit of a problem. So that's the first thing. Second of all, when we experienced a 3-year revival-like experience in our own context, we used 3 historic words to define things well for our people. So, I think you both heard me do this before. You need a common lexicon. So when you say something, everyone thinks the same thing. So there isn't disunity by word. So renewal, we would say, and this is not authoritative, this is just how we worked it out well. Renewal is when an individual falls back in love with Jesus. Renewal is coming back to your first love. And there is a season, I hate that word in evangelicalism these days, era, I'm in my single era.
A dispensation?
Revival era. So,
let's go season. Let's go season.
Yeah, let's go. Blessings on our Darbian friends. But no, there's a thing that happens where suddenly the one who has been faithful falls back in love. Great. Revival is a sovereign act of God that's initiated by God, sustained by God, and ended by God that impacts a whole community.
Is renewal an act of God, or is that just what happens when you arrange your life right unto Him?
I would say both are possibilities.
Okay.
Yeah, I think both are possibilities. But when it comes to the community, it's a sovereign initiation. And revival, revival, by the way, just means to duplicate life you have. I mean, that's what the word actually means.
Okay.
It's not to give new life, it's to duplicate what you already have. And so, a revival moment is when God sovereignly shows up in a local church community or across a group of churches or in a connect group or in a house church, and suddenly He moves from omnipresence to palpability, and God's proximity grows profoundly close. And there's a series of markers we'll get to in a minute around that. I would say that the word awakening is used when revival spills across or into culture and there is mass conversion. And J.I. Packer used to say in his little book, God in Our Midst, and then that is when Christian values begin to infiltrate society, which, as a side note, not to go down this rabbit trail, but I would like to say to all of our friends, that's how Christian values get in society.
Amen.
Not by politics and voting.
Come on.
Yeah.
So what if we had our political party do a Christian halftime Super Bowl show?
That's probably going to bring revival, right?
Yeah, great. Anyway, I'm moving on. Moving on. So why this is important is because what's happening right now is people are really desperate for God to move for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
People want Him to move because they want Him to move. People want their neighbors to be friends, but lots of people want God to move so they're saved. Lots of people want revival so we get Christian culture back. Lots of people there's a lot of motivation around the R word. And so revival does not mean, by the way, wow, people suddenly are interested in Christian faith again. Revival does not mean, hey, we had a bunch of baptisms. That can be part of it, but that is not the designation of it.
Okay.
And so I think a lot of what we're seeing, especially in the United States, is actually many nominal Christians just actually coming to faith for the first time or actually falling back in love. I think a lot more of it is we're scared politically, and so I'm diving into the right end of the pool.
Yeah. Yep.
What's happening in England feels sovereign. What's happening in the United States feels mixed.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if much is even happening in Canada, other than in Halifax, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So the reason why I'm having this conversation is revival is not guaranteed like spiritual gifts and disciplines. And the reason why we got to do this and talk this way is because expectations can shipwreck faith and destroy faith. And it's like that's true in a marriage, it's true in a friendship, it's true in faith. So I'm cautious to use the word revival quickly and identify it as such, because I do not want a wave of deconstruction 10 years from now because a generation says, you promised this to me, then it didn't happen. So either I did something wrong, I was too sinful, Satan's true, or maybe this is all wrong. So renewal all day long, spiritual gifts and disciplines all day long. Like I'm all in all day long. And to me, that's rooted in common faithfulness. And that's just so. But there are moments where it changes. And so I think to have a robust conversation about when it changes and then what happens during it is maybe where we might want to go next.
Can you give us, I know a little bit about it, but for our listeners, like you're not coming at this in a vacuum, but you actually led through an outpouring of the Spirit, and that's part of your story and your history. Can you give our listeners the kind of 5-minute version of what you experienced?
Yeah, so years and years ago, I'm the senior pastor of a larger church, the same one I'm in now. My kids were younger. They had gone to bed. That was a miracle in itself. I think my wife had fallen asleep. I hadn't had time to even do a devotional moment with Jesus that day. So I was in my townhouse. This will tell you how old it is. There was a Hillsong video on the television behind me. And I had a BlackBerry. I mean, that's the only time I've even compromised. I've never left than Apple other than that. And I'm firmly entrenched still. Oh, repented. Yes, right. I've done absolutely all of it. And so I'm doing a normal devotional moment. Nothing's going on. And this is critical. And I have zero expectation. Zero. Nothing. And it is a simple, I'm praying. And I don't know, Three Oceans is on, like whatever that song was. I don't know. And so I'm in my living room and alone, probably 9 o'clock at night. And then suddenly this profound weight walks into the room. I have no other way to describe it. Like shocking, almost choking weight. And, I didn't know it at the time, but, the Shekinah glory of God, which is the dwelling presence of God. So that, the presence that is at the pillar of fire by night, the pillar of, cloud by day, the same presence that filled Moses' tabernacle and filled the temple under Solomon. It's the same glory and fire that you see in Ezekiel and Isaiah, their callings. You have the same overwhelming presence at the shepherds at the Christmas moment. You have the same language used over Mary at Christmas, the overshadowing language, tongues of fire at Pentecost. When Stephen, our first martyr, is being brutally murdered, he looks up and he sees Jesus in the midst of the Shekinah glory. And Paul is knocked down by this same blinding presence and power. And as the rabbis say, he heard what they call it, the heavenly echo voice. And what is so disturbing to Saul is that the voice is Jesus of Nazareth, found at the center of the glory and overwhelming presence of God, which violates his theology. So all of those instances are moments where the Spirit moves from palpability right down into omnipresence to palpability. But the Old Testament phrase Shekinah glory translates weight, like the weightiness of God. So again, zero expectation, pastor, successful church, things are going okay, young. This weight shows up in the room, and I remember going onto the ground and physically trembling from head to toe. And I'm going am I hungry? Am I angry? Am I lonely? Am I tired? Halt. Is this a lot? And also at the same time thinking, crap, I'm not one of those guys. That's the weird church down the street. Processing in real time and profoundly overwhelmed. And a voice says, read 2 Chronicles 5. Now I can't physically move. So I'm hitting my BlackBerry towards myself, trying to open YouVersion because I was physically trembling, and I hit YouVersion, and and it came up and said you need an update, and the voice said I'll wait.
Whoa! Wow.
So I'm like, like doing carpet time, as the Pentecostals would say, in my, and YouVersion is slowly uploading on this BlackBerry. and though I have a lot of theological training, because I have some learning disabilities, the way my mind works, I didn't know the data of what 2 Chronicles 5 was. So I pull up 2 Chronicles 5, sort of get it in front of my face. And of course, it's actually the moment where the Spirit of God, Solomon dedicates the temple, the Spirit of God comes. It says, in the Spirit of God, the Shekinah glory was filled the temple. The priests were all overwhelmed. They could not do their service. And the voice said, I've decided to come to your church like this. And then just like that, he said, now read 2 Corinthians 5. So like I'm sort of scrolling as much as I can. 2 Corinthians 5 is where Paul talks about, I want to be away from the body and at home with the Lord, which is quite a statement. But whether I'm here or there, I basically want to live to please Christ, because I know, and he says, because I know that when I face the judgment seat of Christ, I will be judged for what I do in the body, good or bad. And that's Christian judgment, not non-Christian judgment. And the Lord said, when I come in great power in your church, my son will be exalted. And then the heaviness just left. And I was like, what the heaven was like, what?
Wow.
What? Wow. So did I, pull out the flags, get out a shofar and announce on Sunday revivals? No, actually, I didn't know what to do. So what I did, I shared it with only a very few leaders. We didn't announce anything. And all I started doing is praying back. I said to the Lord, so you started this, I didn't. And you situationally started this. This is not, this is where name it, claim it goes bad, right? Name it, claim it theology says everything in the Bible is a promise, claim the thing, it must be done. And I'm like, actually, 90% of what you're claiming is not guaranteed. You can claim the 10 Commandments. He'll show up every time. You can, 1 Corinthians 13, pray for love, trust me. Name and claim that all day long. Suffering for Christ, name and claim that. The other stuff, not so much. But I said to him, situationally, this seems to me that you've said this over this church because you've decided. So I just quietly prayed back 2 Chronicles 5 and 2 Corinthians 5. And forgive the timing. I think it was for 2 years. It might be less. Talked to a few people and went on with normal church. And then Sunday night, young adult service. I'm not leading, I'm not preaching, I'm in the back. And after whatever the period of time was, the same heaviness walks into the room. I, as the senior pastor of the church, run towards what I jokingly call the holy subwoofers, because in large mega churches we don't have altars or rails or mercy seats, and fell face down, like literally in front of all the young adults. And then the Lord just went, and it went right across. And for 3 years, off and on, like waves that would come in and out, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people converted, saved, delivered, undone, trembling visions. Like it got so wild. I was telling this story last week in Phoenix. Yeah, it got so wild. I was in the back Sunday school classroom with Dave, who you guys know, and Jesus just got so close, and the way I would articulate it, and I don't mean this, so don't please don't tweet that I'm a heretic later. I don't mean you guys, others. It's like meeting Jesus in Revelation 1, not meeting Jesus in the Gospels. Parts of the Gospels. Yeah. And and I remember being so overwhelmed and wanting to dig through the ground and die because I couldn't believe how sinful I was. like shocking sense of sin, and shocking. And then I remember like seeing seven eyes, and I said, "Oh crap!" I didn't use that word. I used a stronger word. And I was like, "Oh man, like I'm going crazy." And I'm like, "Oh, hold on." It's like, no, like actually in the book of Revelation, there's this eye thing. And I was like, "Oh," yeah. And then it was like, oh, extreme terror, needing to die, the holiness of God, multiple eyes, I'm going crazy, and then feeling loved all at once.
Wow.
And I remember trembling on the ground and going, it has to be him, because there's no way that the justice and mercy of God mingle like that anywhere else.
Yeah. Wow.
And so like, it lasted about 3 years. It was not always all the time. People that attended the church, many of them were impacted. Some of them weren't. It was starvingly started. I had 6 months of like profound undoing, where the Lord confronted me on so much as a pastor, as a husband, and as a son, actually. And so profound, and we had to adjust. We literally had almost like a code word where we'd be like, it's normal church this week, and then he'd show up again, and then we were like, here's the code word, and everything changed. And so we had to learn how to navigate all that, theologically digest all that, and then it ended. And the Lord ended it. And again, I've shared this moment publicly in other places. I'll never forget when it ended. It was 3 of us were praying. It was Dave, myself, and a woman named Beth, who at that time was our prayer pastor. And he walked in the, like, he's everywhere, but like, it's the only way I can use it. And he just said, it's done. And I just said to him, like, did we sin? And he's like, no, it's just done. And I said, don't go. And then I said to him, where are you going? And I've always laughed at this. He said, I'm going to China. And I'm like, of course you are. Like, I did it just,
and he did.
I'll just never forget. And of course, the Lord is the Lord of all the churches. He literally, the book of Revelation, when he walks among the congregations, it's true. And then we had to go back to normal church.
Wow.
And no one talks about how you survive after it's done.
Oh man.
And I've had a lot of conversations with leaders around the world in the last 2 years, of those who have led through things that have ended and those who are leading things through now, and tried preparing them, because it feels like divorce. And it's not.
Yeah.
He's good and he's faithful. The church is awesome, and the gates of hell will not be like. But
is it kind of
anyway?
Is it kind of akin to? I mean, this is a pretty like crude analogy, but almost that grief you get when you're a kid and mom and dad take you to Disney, and it's this one like special thing. Like, this is just a special thing. They're doing it out of love for us. And there is like when it's over, there is this kind of, sense of loss, even though the parents did nothing to violate. It's because they're good parents. They gave you that gift, and yet it did come to an end. Is there a level of that?
Yeah, there is that. But I think this, it's a great transition to the greater question of why.
Yeah.
And so, like, if we can take just a few more minutes, to me, the passage that I think best articulates I'll call it the functionality of revival, the purpose of revival, the process of revival, is the transfiguration in Matthew 17. Yeah. And this is the passage that I've used to like help set right expectation and anyway, more. So like, just real quick, and you just let me know time-wise, because I want to be careful. But so it's interesting, Matthew 16, there is the famed moment in Caesarea Philippi, right, where Jesus is in a place that Orthodox Jews are not even supposed to be, literally in front of the gates of hell. And who do people say the Son of Man is? And Jeremiah, one of the prophets, Elijah, etc. And then he says, who do you say that I am? Peter says, of course, Peter says, you're the Christ, you're the Son of the living God. And quite profound moment where a lot of people miss this. Jesus says, you did not discover that, heaven has shown you this. And it's like from that moment where in sovereignty, a deep, one of the most deep followers of Jesus is given divine, capital R, revelation on the nature of Christ. Great. In front of hell. That's a great preach. There's so much good there. And then it's like at that moment, there's an initiation sovereignly for the next thing. So if you read Matthew 17, it says, after 6 days, Jesus took up Peter, James, and John and led them about a high mountain. So critical piece for revival thinking is notice that Jesus takes them up. They don't demand him. So this idea that, if we pray hard enough, if we fast hard enough, if we cry hard enough, if we go to revival conferences, that it's going to get God's attention is a horrific starting point. We don't worship Baal. We worship Yahweh. We don't draw him down. He goes to where he wants. So the initiation of what I would say one of the most significant revival moments in the New Testament is that Jesus takes them up. Now, after 6 days, there's a ton of things there. I want to be quick about that. I mean, of course, there's a reference to creation here, new creation, but actually the 6 days is also very directly connected to Exodus 24, because when Moses goes up on Mount Sinai in Exodus 24 to get the 10 Commandments, it says that, and you can read it, right? It says, when Moses went up on a high mountain, the cloud covered it, the glory of the Lord settled on Mount Sinai. For 6 days, the cloud covered the mountains. On the seventh day, the Lord spoke out of the cloud. To the Israelites, the glory of the Lord looked like a consuming fire on top of the mountain. And so you'll notice Moses, the initiation to go up on Mount Sinai and the Shekinah glory shows up is divinely started there. It's repeated here by Jesus. They go up. And so lesson one is, I would say almost always, maybe always, God starts the process and lets someone know it's starting. Versus we're going to gather and hope he shows up. Peter, James, and John are up there. They're going to do spiritual discipline time. I love in Luke 9, it said they were very sleepy. I was joking, spiritual gift of, like we all have. And then suddenly it says, Jesus is transfigured in front of them. Transfigured is where we get our word metamorphosis from. He doesn't evolve into something. One scholar said it's like a fourth dimension is added to Jesus. So in other words, what Peter confesses in Matthew 16 is seen for all five senses in Matthew 17. And so, there's this phrase like, his clothes were shining like the sun. Mark says, whiter than anything that could be bleached in the world. And so the imagery is that Jesus has light descending on him, coming up through him and out of him. Which is great. And then, of course, Moses and Elijah show up and they have a conversation. And again, there's so much, I won't take much time other than, of course, Moses and Elijah both encountered God on top of mountains. Both of them, Moses is the great lawgiver. Elijah, of course, is the great miracle worker. Elijah in Jewish thinking ends up being the one that represents all the prophets. And so, again, the law and the prophets are there to point to the Messiah. I mean, that's what's happening in real time. But their encounters with the living God are very similar to this. And so the thing that we miss is that in this moment, Peter, James, and John, as Orthodox Jews, see more than anyone has seen since Adam.
Wow. Right.
So you have three Orthodox Jews who literally see the Messiah in glorified state. Moses is actually there. Elijah is actually there. And their response is, it is good for us to be here. If you would like, we could build 3 tents. We could go to Mountain Equipment Co-op right now, go to sale. And we need to live here.
Yeah.
Because as an Orthodox Jew, they're like, there's nothing else.
Yeah.
this is why you came. This is your job description. You keep talking this crap about suffering and dying. You don't need to do any of that. This is it.
Yeah.
And so Peter's building this strategic plan to live in revival forever. And just as a side note, if you could live in revival forever, you would. Because it is a foretaste of what will be permanent later.
Right.
And so who wants to go back to a 6-day work week? Who wants to go back to the Romans? Who wants to go back to the inability of casting out demons? Like, you can list all the things in culture that you don't want to go back to, and Peter, James, and John don't want to do it. And rightly so. In that moment, while they're speaking, and this is just, again, we're doing okay time-wise?
Yep,
just want to make sure.
Good.
So while Peter is talking, he's interrupted. And it says a bright cloud enveloped them, and a voice from the cloud spoke. And again, so this is the Shekinah glory of God. This is the Spirit of God. And notice, in palpable proximity, a voice speaks, "This is my son whom I love. I'm well pleased with him. Listen to him." So you've got the Trinity going on, amazing. But verse 6, when the disciples heard this, they fell face down to the ground and they were terrified. Now, I grew up in a Baptist tradition that taught me they knelt down in reverence. No, they didn't. They fell over. There was a physiological reaction to the proximity of the divine. And why this matters is because I was very uncomfortable with this line of thinking. I'd taken our church as far as I could. Spiritual gifts, I'm all in, all 21. We're going to try to function. Spiritual disciplines, yes. But physiological reaction, that's the weird stuff. I don't want this in this house.
Right.
And then when I started reading the scriptures and then reading church history, what made me profoundly uncomfortable is in sovereign moments of revival, there's always a physiological, non-controlled action by the people towards God. Trembling, shaking, weeping, laughing, fill in all the blanks. And so just a side note, do I believe those things are necessary? No, I do not. Do I think they make you more spiritual? No, I do not. Do I think charismatic communities or other communities, when revivals ends, when they try replicating those things, does it become rotten manna? It's disgusting. It's death. When people try pairing those physiological reactions to spiritual gifts, they pair something that should never be together. But the thing for your audience, because I know where you come from and where I come from, is we're not even open if you did it.
Right.
Because weird is wrong. And I need to be in control. And the problem is, the God we love and the God we serve and the God we read about and the God we pray to and the God we give to, the God we evangelize on behalf of, shows up in sovereign power. You can't fight him. And you say you love him. And I don't doubt that the majority of people listening love him. But we do not trust him. Especially if it would cost us reputation. J.I. Packer made a reference, wrote this little book called God in Our Midst. And he says there are 5 things that happen. I'll just list them quick. Because I would say this is the pattern in Scripture. This is what happened even with us. There's an awareness of God's presence. He draws awesomely near, holiness, mercy, might. There's a sensitivity to sin. There's always a sensitivity to sin when he shows up in great power. You'll know revival is true when repentance and confession cannot be stopped. Like when this happened with us, we were running our young adults service over the 3 years in a former nightclub. And I remember one service where everything came to an end. The service was just done, and it was a normal service. It was a great service. And I just had this, forgive the charismatic phrase, a check in my spirit when things were not done. And I just said, I don't think things are done. And right when that happened, I will never forget it, where young adults literally started standing up in this former nightclub and running to any pastor and just screaming out their sin. I hate my father. I'm having an affair. I'm a porn addict. I literally arranged people like Catholic priests. I'm like, prepare yourselves now.
Wow.
So confession of sin is huge. Liveliness in community, absolutely. The holy things that are guaranteed places of counter normatively become places you don't want to not be there. Like when revival is actually happening, you want to worship, you want to read your scripture, you want to confess your sins. You can't wait for communion. No one's passing a plate gently. You want it in your mouth yesterday. Like, there's this thing that happens, worship and prayer and confession, and then of course word and deed, and consciences being pricked. That all happens during moves, and that's why I would say again, I'm quick not to call something a revival, not because I'm like some accountant. Who am I? I'm dust. I'm going to die. Like, I only work for him like you do, but like I'm like, is there any evidence of the terror of God, the holiness of God, the love of God, the confession of sin? This is not someone worshiping for 12 hours, maybe.
Yeah.
So anyway, and then of course, again, back to the physiological stuff, Revelation 1, Jesus, John is Jesus's best friend. John sees everything in his ministry. John adopts Mary. I mean, we as Protestants don't talk about this enough. Like, as Jesus is bleeding out, it's John who's holding Mary. John is the one who, resists Gnosticism and writes the revelation that we've been given. But in Revelation 1, this is getting to your question, your conspiratorial, not conspiratorial question earlier. In Revelation 1, John at 90 years old is by himself at church. Little side note for the audience. You can go to church at any time. He was by himself on the Lord's Day. Side note. So suck it up a little bit more, please. Like, and he, he's worshiping the Lord. All his friends are dead in murder. And he turns around and he sees his best friend and he falls down at 90. I've always joked and said, what a geriatric moment. He's 90. Like, this is not a good scenario.
You fall so
I've fallen and I can't get up.
Yeah. But he falls down and again, but the thing that the dismissal that happens all the time, sees stupid stuff happened, or prophecies weren't handled properly, or there was flesh, so it can't be from the Lord. Well, if you read Revelation carefully, twice in the book of Revelation, John tries worshiping an angel.
Yes. Right. Yep.
This is John.
Yeah.
Who wrote 1st, 2nd, 3rd John, Gospel of John. By this point, has fought the Gnostics, and he is so overwhelmed by this, he even himself almost commits idolatry. And the angel says, bro, stop.
Yeah.
So we will make multiple mistakes during a sovereign move of God, and that does not dismiss the actual thing that's happening.
Yes. Right.
Wow.
And conservative people need to get this. If they believe, if they defend the scriptures, then actually defend and believe the scriptures you defend.
Yeah. Man.
Because it's just the way it goes. And then the end, just in Matthew 17, and then all this stuff happens. They're terrified. And then Jesus touches them, get up, don't be afraid. And they saw no one except Jesus, and Jesus ends it. And then, of course, they go down the mountain. And what's so discouraging is the disciples were trying to cast out a demon. They couldn't. The Pharisees were upset. The desperate, I think the father is totally desperate. Yeah. And they have to go back to normal life. So to your question 10 minutes ago, why? Why the Disneyland trip? The Lord always gives a revival, not just to purify his bride, but to set up a church movement or moment for perseverance for the suffering that's coming. Peter, James, and John, I don't think would have been able to lead the way they did without this moment. And so there's always a sovereign intention. So the way I would use it is sovereign initiated, a promise is given, you pray back the promise to the Lord. That's all you do. You don't beg, you don't yell, you don't scream, you just give it back. You've started this, I'm in compliance with you. Jesus says in John, ask anything in my name, I'll give it to you if it's according to the will. Everyone just doesn't read the second half of the verse.
Yeah.
So if it's situationally as well, the thing that I encourage people to do is say to the Lord, if you're coming, is there a flavor to your coming? Because if you read the scriptures carefully, Acts 2, Acts 4, Acts 6, if you read church history, every time God shows up, there's a particular thing, emphasis to it. And then you have to lead through it, which means, I was talking to some English leaders last year and said, you literally need to train your staff where when physical things start happening, you have categories for them, how you evaluate them. You have to train your staff in your community to translate it. And you have to have code words like not normal today, because if you don't switch back and forth, it gets really difficult. And then you have real leaders will be preparing for its end while you're leading in the middle.
Yep.
So there's sustainability. So, when we talk about revival, here's maybe what I'll say, and then you can ask questions if needed. Everyone should ask the Lord if he's coming. Not ultimately coming. He's coming.
Yeah.
I mean, we need to put our desires to aside. It's hard. It's really hard. And as actually things get more difficult and darker, people become desperate for this more.
Yes.
And that's not bad. It just might not be biblical. So the way I've said in our church community is we go before the Lord and say to him, hey, we're committed to common faithfulness, which includes gifts, disciplines, suffering, truth, loving the poor as much as we can. Like, we're going to do this winter, summer, spring, or fall. But maybe the difference is in a more conservative environment, but we're also inquiring regularly, saying to the Lord, are you coming? If he says yes, we'll ask for a promise to pray back for him. And then we will begin to strategically prepare for that move. If he says no, we will not tell our people he's coming. And I think this is rooted back to the whole idea of even Jesus modeling, which we've talked about. Jesus does nothing except what the Father tells him to do. And so, like, those who have never asked are terrified because they're afraid that if he actually does show up, all the sin gets exposed, all the pain comes out, and you can't control yourself. And those who really desperately want it are afraid to ask if he's not coming.
Right.
And both of those things show a trust issue. And so, like, are there places in London that it's real? Oh, yes. Yeah. Very much so. Are there some places in the States right now? Oh, yes. Am I glad people are praying? Oh, yeah. Am I glad young adults are getting baptized and checking out the faith more? Yep. Is it all revival? Nope.
Yeah.
And so, in evangelical circles, our sin is what I would call conference holicism.
Yeah.
Conference to conference to conference. And, I need the purpose-driven this, and I need this. And none of those things are wrong. But, like, people almost think, like, if they go to a place where revival's happening, they can take it with them. And that's sovereignly sometimes true. But the real thing we all need to ask is, Lord, do you actually want to do it where I'm at, or don't you?
Yeah.
And then you lead out of those expectations. And I just think for conservative people, you got to get okay with the scriptures, got to get okay with the sovereignty, get okay with the physiological stuff, get okay. Like, I literally was speaking last week in Phoenix in a community that was talking about revival for 3 nights and preached out of this text. And I said, like, you want me to promise you something and I can't, but you can all ask tonight. Yeah. And for them, it was very wild because it's a very conservative church. And this woman broke out in tongues, and the music was quite loud, and she was louder than the music. So that was actually quite a statement. And this was not normative for them at all. And I just went to the senior pastor and executive pastor, and I said, so you're going to ask for a translation, right?
Right.
They're like, oh, right. Like, it just, because not that they were, and like 3 different people in the room, not all talking to you, all had the exact same translation, shared it, confirmed. And like, now, is that revival? No, but something.
Yeah. Right. Something stirring.
So I just think my encouragement to anyone listening is don't be discouraged. God is sovereign. Jesus wins. Whether winter, summer, spring, or fall, we must be faithful. But I think there needs to be a grander inquiring, saying, Lord, are you deciding to take us up the mountain? Not, you've guaranteed to take us up the mountain, and not, is there a mountain?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because both of these poles suck.
Right. Yeah. I find myself in hearing you, John, like, both I feel sober, but also stirred. Like there, like when I watch you talk about your experience, like
that's beautiful.
Yeah. Like I want to be in a room like that, and I've had incredible encounters with the Lord, powerful encounters with the Lord, but I do believe you. There's levels to this stuff. And, that said, and you're familiar with my ministry in King's Church, but like the way I would assess, our story at this point would be, there have been some clear, like just clearly the hand of God did stuff along the way that we can't take credit for, even going back to when, I became senior pastor, and just I would call that a sort of renewal, like where, honestly, the foundations of our church got completely shifted, like in a 6-month window. Just the heart, the even like a lot of people left and a lot of people came. Like it was just a church was born again. And I would say though, out of that, we've just been stewarding, I think, fairly well, like what normal Christian church life is supposed to look like. And it looks unusual, like in this region, right? It's like, what, you baptized 600 people in the last 2 years? Yeah, that's what you do. God's using us, and we're trying to posture and position ourselves to be used and try to be faithful to the mission. But I would not say we've experienced revival, like where there's been there's been nothing that has happened that I would say we weren't at some level in control. Right? Where there's like or at least a level of partnership and reciprocity with the Spirit of God, trying to stay, follow his lead. But there's been nothing yet to happen where it's like, sit down, you're not going to be able to move for a while, or lay down. So I guess my question in that, Jon, I would say one more thing on that. Like, that's my assessment of what we've experienced. I've shared with you, the Lord has put revival like deep in my heart. I haven't had an audible voice telling me it's going to happen. I've just had a sense and a hunger and a longing, or a hunger and a longing that's gone beyond that to a sense that I will experience that at some point in my life. I don't know when, or if I'm going to be in the driver's seat or just a participant, an old man in a congregation. I don't know. But it's in my heart. And I also have had a burden and a sense to believe God for awakening, that I will live to see an outpouring of the Spirit that does shift society in an aggressive level. And I believe you in what you're saying, like just biblically speaking as well. Like this is sovereign stuff. This isn't stuff that you can engineer or, make happen. And so like, how would you coach me and coach us? Like, how do we posture ourselves along the way? Can we be hungry for this and desire this? And yet is there a fool's errand in there where you're like, or you're doing a Christian version of the prophets of Baal, trying to get God to do stuff that, he's not fixing to do? Like, what's your advice?
Yeah, I think this is a really hard in between, because you want to build biblical expectancy and you don't want to damage people. And this is the tension that we're all feeling, and no one's really articulating it like that. But that's what it is.
Yeah.
So we don't want to commit pastoral malpractice, and we also don't want to commit pastoral malpractice.
Right.
Right. So you're like, oh, crap, so a few things. One, I really appreciate what you just said, at least about your journey, because there's a level of maturity in what you just said that I don't hear in a lot of others. Because you just said, two lines was, I believe that the Lord, I'll forgive the phraseology, but I believe the Lord has promised the revival is coming, but I might not be in charge. See, this is this. If you weren't mature, you'd say, so it's going to happen while I'm in charge in my church. And then you go declare it to your church. So that caution is not unwise. That caution is, that feels like a personal promise. Interesting. So I would coach you and say, great. Now, you also have this other thing about awakening, and that's interesting and great. So what I would submit is going back to the Lord and saying, any more details? Like, thanks for the personal promise and amen. And thank you for the awakening sense. But like, our church, can we ask you boldly, our church, do you want us to prepare? And again, knowing you, of course, you'll want to gear up and go. And the terrifying moment is if he says no, you don't get to gear up. There's just mass shadows of disappointment in all this, especially for people who are deeply passionate, deeply spiritually entrepreneurial, and also just love people. But I'm just saying, I would go beyond the personal thing, and then I would say it sounds like a deep and wide statement. There's a personal statement about revival. There's an awakening question that you can't get by, and you just need to say the Lord. So I would really like you to share my role in it, if you wouldn't mind, so I can manage this, and he'll honor that. You know, the other thing I would say to you as a multi-site church, being really careful as I say this, is, because I also lead one, is wonder if the Lord brings revival to one of your sites, but not your whole church.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just saying.
They're going to get a new campus pastor.
Yeah. Well, but see, like, thanks for saying it. Yeah. But again, like, you just need, like, then suddenly the system that you have, which is not ungodly, cannot function in one environment for a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to logistically, organizationally, emotively, personally prepare for that.
Yeah.
And, you know, everyone wants to be, I don't know, Joshua, but no one wants to be Moses in the wilderness. Everyone wants to be Jesus. No one wants to be Jeremiah. You know, congratulations, your calling's to weep forever. No one's going to listen to your preaching. Hey, hooray, what a great calling.
But didn't he also get to cook his lunch over his own turds or whatever?
No, in the end, I think the Lord gave him the out.
Oh, good.
Okay.
That was good. He said, that's unholy. Can I do something else? Good. I don't think it was Jeremiah. But here nor there. That's the stuff I would say. But an intentional, ongoing questioning of the Lord, whether he's coming, and whether it's a national question, a provincial question, or a personal question, I think that should be done. Should we fan into flame the asking? Yes. Do I think we need more faith? Yes. And as a good friend of mine who disagrees with my view on revival says, well, no, we don't agree. At least we both can agree. If whether we spark it or he sparks it, I'm going to make sure there's enough gasoline in the tank when he shows up. Great. Yeah. I got no problem with that. I've got no problem with that at all. Yeah. But I will say, there is a growing momentum of expectation that I am profoundly excited for and concerned about at the same time.
Yeah, makes sense. Well,
I'm leading a church that's not in revival.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah, and awesome things are happening.
And I'm okay with it.
Yeah, that's the thing to what you were saying earlier, Brent, that I think people need to. I feel like sometimes people put all their eggs for some sort of forward progress or reaching the community or making disciples in the revival basket.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's either nothing remotely supernatural is happening or we're in full-blown revival, as opposed to kind of to what you were saying, John, about just that kind of regular faithfulness of like, it should be normative for people to be coming to faith and normative for people to be seeing change in their lives.
Spiritual gifts, disciplines, all that.
Well, actually, if spiritual gifts were used more in churches, it would be way more dynamic.
Right.
For an average church than people would even imagine.
Yeah.
Like, to me, someone speaking in tongues being translated, casting out demons isn't profound anymore. It's just like, great. As much as a good strategic plan, actually, because they're both charisma. Like, I'm like, great.
In Canada, like, common faithfulness is not all that common. And so it looks like something unique. And it's like, no, this is
I think the many who are involved in common faithfulness are just like, do we get anything other than winter?
Right.
Mm.
Yeah, right. I mean, I think there's some of that. I think, to use the old millennial phrase of FOMO, I mean, I really think sometimes Canadian leaders are like, they go to England, they're like, come on. Or they go to the States and they're like anything? And I sit back and I go, has anyone inquired to ask?
Yeah.
Just inquire.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Well, that might be a great spot. It seems it would be good if you would, John, I'd love to get you to just pray for us maybe as we close. Just pray for most of the people that are listening are not pastors. Just they're people that love Jesus and are on the journey. And so maybe just if you can kind of collect us all up with all we've talked about in mind and just sort of submit it to the Lord.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Lord, where 2 or 3 Christians gather, you're present. And that's not revival. That's just normal.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lord, for what you are doing around the world. Thanks, Lord, for what you have done and will do. Thanks for our brother, 380 million Christians right now in persecution. They're trying to be faithful. Lord, let them know, even at this moment in jail cells and in hiding, that you are sovereign and that they're loved and they're not disconnected. Lord, we have lots of motives and you know them all. And a lot of times they're not great. We're dust and we're sinful and we don't even know. And so forgive us, Lord, when we've demanded things of you that weren't your will, or we've promised things that you haven't promised. And also forgive us for not having faith and not asking and being afraid, So just real simple, Lord, would you help us to be willing to ask if you're coming? If you're coming, doesn't matter, pastor or not, help us to prepare and pray. If you say you're not coming in this unique way, help us to be faithful. Guard us from the evil one. Guard us from good ideas that aren't the right ideas under the sovereignty of God. And maybe I'll end with this. And Jesus, where you're moving in revival, thank you.
Yes.
And I think the three of us would just say more, Lord.
Yes.
Like, would you continue to pour out your Spirit in profound ways and help us to celebrate with our brothers and sisters? And if any of us, maybe this is the best way, if any of us have missed a promise, just let us hear it.
Yeah. Amen.
Amen.
Yeah. In Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you, John.
Yes, thank you so much.
It's been awesome.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Well, that was an awesome conversation with Jon Thompson. We let him go, but we do have one more thing we got to do.
Absolutely.
Before we wrap up today's show, it is time
for the Mountainous Top 4.
The Mountainous Top 4. We got a good one today.
Yeah,
All
we
right.
do.
Top 4, and Ron, you want to jump in on this? Since there's only two of us, you'll be the third, so we can get
Sure thing.
the usual. Top 4 TV show theme songs.
Top 4 TV show theme songs.
What are your top 4 TV show theme songs? Because I have a preloaded track that will be our outro, I'll go last.
Sounds good. Ron, do you want to go, or do you need a couple minutes to think and I'll go?
I have a few.
All right, go.
I don't know if I have 4.
Lay them
but,
on us.
Give us a couple.
First and foremost, just because of nostalgia, Full House.
Yeah.
I used to watch
that's not
that
a
all the
bad
time
call.
growing up.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to predictability?
Now, wasn't the same guy wrote Family Matters one? I
believe so, yeah.
It's a rare condition in this day and age to read any good news on the newspaper.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's good. I love that one. I don't really watch much modern TV, but I love Stranger Things.
Yeah, that's a great. That
I
is a
just love the
great
synth.
intro. The 80s synth. Yeah.
That's the only show on
Yep.
Netflix that I would not skip the intro for when I watch.
Our outro on this show is pretty Stranger Things-y.
Oh yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Love it. And then ever since I was young, Survivor. I love watching Survivor.
I don't know what the theme song is.
Yeah.
Survivor's still on?
It's still on.
Like it starts with that, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
I don't know. I just love it. It's the nostalgia part, and I enjoy watching the show. So. And if I had to pick a 4th, not really a favorite, but growing up, my dad loved watching Law and Order.
Oh yeah.
So that one's just
Dun, 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 dun. Is that it?
imprinted. Yep.
Boom.
I'm just thinking of chung chung.
Yeah, that's the transition.
Yes.
Gung, 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 gung.
But
boom, boom. Isn't that it?
yeah. And
Oh,
actually,
yeah.
I'm just,
Bum, bum,
yeah,
bum,
bum
bum.
bum actually made me think of The Mandalorian. I love that.
Oh, that's a
Oh,
good
there
one
you go.
too. Yeah, the kind of
That's-
Western though. Woo.
Yeah. Get out of Law and Order out of the way. Mandalorian.
I like
right.
that. All right. What do you got, AJ?
I'm gonna go 30 Rock.
Yep.
Yep, it's kind of fun, upbeat, but probably there's just some positive association there for me. That's one of me and my wife's favorite
Helps
shows.
if you like the show.
Yeah, but it is it's unique. It doesn't sound like much else, so I like that. The Greatest American Hero. Believe it or not, I'm walking on it. There you go. From way back in the 80s.
Great song.
I love that one. Speaking of great 80s shows, I got to go with the A-Team. And then for the orchestral lovers amongst us, the theme song from Stargate SG-1.
Oh wow, deep cut.
Yeah, it's this big, swelling strings and all that kind of stuff. It's
I don't know that one.
Yeah, no, it's a beauty.
All right. Here's my 4. I'm going to give an honorable mention to the Fresh Prince.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, everybody knows it.
Absolutely. In terms of lyrics, that's got to be one of the most well-known TV theme songs of all time.
Absolutely. But it's not on my top 4.
Yeah.
Number 4, in honor of the late James Van Der Beek, Dawson's Creek.
Well, I've never watched that.
I don't want to wait for our lives to be over. That one, yeah. I mean, he just passed away recently.
Yeah.
Sad. That's a sad one. Little kids and everything. But then the show, I mean, that song's sad.
Yeah.
The show, anyway. Number 3, a little more levity in my list, The Office.
Oh, yeah.
It's a good one.
Yep.
Number 2, The Simpsons.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just my grade 7 middle school band tried to play that. I'm sure it was a massacre, but we did it. And number 1, from the Rembrandts, I'll Be There For You, the Friends theme song.
There you go.
So
can you imagine being a band and you write one good song and they grab it for a TV? Like, those guys have probably made infinitely more money off the TV show than they ever did off it.
Our work, every time that syndicated show is played, their song is played. They're just doing this all the way to the bank.
Yep.
So, on that note, thank you, friends.
Yeah. See you next time.
We're going out with friends.
Because that's what this show is all about.
It's about friends.
Friends.
Yeah.
Brent, Ron, I'll be there for you when the rain starts to fall.
Wait for it.